entertainment.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of State of the Jungle live from the First Star Logistics Studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by my co-hosts, the boys. We've got Logan Fulmer, we've got Evan McPhillips, and we have a jam-packed show. Lots of stuff to get into. Lots of talk out there about a certain running back.
Who?
Lots of talks out there about a certain offensive tackle. Lots of talks out there about what the Bengals should do at pick 28. And we're here to break it down for you guys like we do every single Wednesday, live at 7 p.m. for State of the Jungle, a show for Bengals fans. Boys, I want to kick it off with where do I want to kick it off? Let's kick it off with Jonah Williams. Let's talk about what his trade value could potentially be. Let's talk about what the Bengals should do. What do you guys think is the appropriate compensation to get the Bengals at the very least to the table to start even discussing a potential Jonah Williams trade? Logan, it's been a while since you were on the show with us, right? We had the free agency week all last week. We missed you, brother, but you're back here. We're going to kick this off with you.
Sweet. So obviously the whole Jonah stuff was pretty interesting. I don't think anybody should be overly surprised by kind of how all that, went down. I don't think, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that Orlando Brown Jr. is a Cincinnati Bengal. So once that fully, sets in, the Jonah stuff becomes more and more obvious that that was the corrected course that he chose. Obviously, if he wants to play left tackle, obviously he wants to get paid. That isn't going to be in Cincinnati as much as we all might want him to move. I just think that regardless of the trade, I think it makes sense for both sides. If you're going to, for me, the conversation starts around roughly a third round pick. Obviously, every team values Jonah Williams differently. For me, that's where it starts, where I'm, okay with accepting, but some teams might value him more than that. Some teams might value him less, might give you, a fourth in a player, a fifth in a player. But for me, the conversation starts around a third rounder. I mean, he's a solid tackle. He's not great. He's not bad. He's a pretty good tackle. And like we talked about before free agency, tackles are hard to come by. Somebody out there is going to value him. You're going to be able to get compensation enough to where you feel comfortable to moving on. And at the end of the day, you're also freeing up $12 million no matter what the compensation is. So that is a huge bonus for Well Cincinnati.
Evan.
Yeah, I think he kind of nailed it right there. I think third round pick is kind of that spot that you feel the value is adequate, and maybe there's something that gets worked out where the Bengals take on a little bit of Jonah Williams' salary to help someone else out, and then the compensation changes maybe slightly. But I really, is the more we kind of sit back and take this situation in and think more deeply on it, I think what might make the most sense for the Bengals is to wait until draft night to have a bird in the hand before they really part ways. And that could also be ammo for them if the draft doesn't fall the right way for a team. Maybe they decide, man, suddenly the run on tackles went a lot faster than we thought, and we don't like a lot of these guys left, or we don't feel confident that they fit our timeline. Maybe that would open the door a little bit more for a Jonah Williams trade, or to eke out a little more value. But I think during the draft, or maybe when we see, like we talked about the Sam Bradford situation as an example, maybe a starter goes down in camp for a desperate team and they say, hey, this guy will be good enough for us at least this year, and that's a time that they can get it. I know we all want compensation that the Bengals can take advantage of in this offseason, in this draft, but we have talked plenty of times about how the Bengals are building for now and the future at the same time.
I don't think the Bengals wait to the draft, though. I don't think that they do. And I also don't think that the Bengals wait until a starter goes down in training camp.
You think they'll be aggressive in pursuing the trade?
I think they'll have to be, right? I
I
mean,
agree.
if you want to maximize the cap, if you want to add to this roster, because essentially Jonah's taking up 12 plus million right now that could be allocated expenses to go out there and let's say maybe get a Foster Moreau or another position of need, whether that be
Corner.
a pass rusher.
Yeah.
You know, it's so many different things when you think about it, right? When you think about it, that the Bengals would have to be, they'd be losing out on, right? The longer this goes, the more days that this goes by, it doesn't work well for the Bengals. You know what I mean? I
Agree.
think the Bengals are a very set in their ways in a little bit, right? They're not a typical team that's gonna wait until draft night. They like to know what they sort of are going into the draft working with, right? And they want to make sure that if a guy's going to be on the roster, they don't even like doing trades in season. I mean, that's proof is in the pudding
Right.
from what for the last couple of years, right? They like to know what they're working with going into the season. So if you ask me, I don't think that waiting around with the Jonah Williams situation, I don't think it makes too much sense. That being said, I really honestly believe the Bengals can get a second round pick for Jonah Williams.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to wait it out and see, as you know, and pretty much wait and see how much they can actually get for him. If you figure by them letting Jonah walk, they're entitled to at least get a third round compensation and compensatory picks, right?
Yep.
So, you know, the report out there is he has a market. Teams are interested in him, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's a beautiful thing for the Cincinnati Bengals, whether it's agents putting it out there, whoever's putting it out there, because I can't imagine the Bengals are. But I think there is some truth to him having a market. There is some truth to that because he's a left tackle in the National Football League. And that's one of those positions that people will always pay and overpay for. Now, if there's a market, how it works, and you guys are smart people, I don't have to tell you, but if somebody's interested in a said player, right? And then another team is interested in a said player, and they're offering the same thing. Well, now that's when we get into a situation where you have to bid and you have to try to figure out what's what and what you're willing to pretty much offer to see what happens from there. That's where the benefit. That's when we can get to that point where essentially we'll start seeing, you know, crazier offers coming for him and teams giving up a lot more than what is quote unquote anticipated to acquire Jonah Williams, because that happens in every negotiation, in every trade scenario. It's I hate to bring this up, but it's like Kyrie Irving, for instance, right? Was Kyrie Irving more valuable for the Nets to trade before the whole shenanigans and all that kind of stuff? Or was he more valuable to trade, you know, afterwards, right? They could have got, honestly speaking, they could have got more assets for Kyrie Irving before everything took place, right? And no, I'm not saying Jonah Williams is Kyrie Irving, but it's the perfect analogy, right? You have to make sure that you're willing to part ways when the value is at an all-time high. And right now, I don't think Jonah Williams' value could be any higher, because right now, if he was a free agent, he'd be easily the most sought after offensive tackle on the National Football League, you know, for agency list right now. To be quite honest with you,
he's still pretty young too. I mean, obviously, this is going into his 5th year option that we picked up, so it's just like we talked about, tackles don't come available very, very easily. And regardless of what we think about Jonah Williams, people around the league are going to like Jonah Williams because he is solid. You know what you're going to get. He's younger. You know, again, he's just a tackle. That's such a valuable position in the NFL. So to Malik's point about getting a second rounder, it wouldn't shock me. Like it's a position of need. It's a desperate need for a lot of teams out there. It was a need for us for so long. So if somebody overpays, that's not even necessarily an overpay. Somebody gets a second, a third in a player, whatever it is, I can see the value being there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know Evan is pretty tired probably talking about Jonah Williams at this point. He gets a lot of I don't want to say you get questions. You probably just
there's a lot of very extreme opinions on both ends of Jonah Williams, right? People who think he's significantly better than the 30th or 40th best tackle, and people who think he's the worst tackle in the league, when the answer is, like most things in life, it's in the gray area. You know, at his best, he's probably the 25th, 30th best tackle. If he's lower than that when he's injured, then he might be the 40th or 45th. But guys, there's 64 starting tackles in the NFL. If you're in that 30 to 40 range, you are in that average range.
Yeah.
You are in that mid range of tackles. Then that is valuable. Having that not sure thing, but at least identified quantity. You know what you're getting. That is valuable to teams, and they are willing to pay a premium for it, especially a tackle.
Exactly. And that's what I try to tell people. Tackle is one of those positions, left tackle, right? Can't say just tackle out there. We got to say left tackle.
Right.
Left tackle, the position that he is hell-bent on,
Right.
playing essentially. That is what it's going to sort of like, that's a premium position in the National Football League. And that's a team that a lot of people, that's a position a lot of people will pay for, even if it's average play or above average play. I think Jonah got a bad rap in some ways, but also you expect the expectation was higher, right? When he first was drafted, right, by the Bengals. So of course you understand why fans expect more, right? He's given up, I think he was tied for the league most sacks from a left tackle this year or something like that. But he also was dealing with a dislocated kneecap in one knee, and then he dislocated the other knee and things of that nature. I'm not here to make excuses for him. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses for him, but
at the same time, if your knee was dislocated, then you got to go block Myles Garrett on the edge constantly. If you've got to block all these guys who they constantly were facing, these talented pass rushers, their defensive coordinators aren't hiding, man. They'll move their guys around and they'll come after you.
I think Jonah also has a lot working for him too. You figure when he first came into the league, he had the worst offensive line coach in football and Jim Turner. He did. He had the worst offensive line coach in football and Turner. So a lot of people think that Jim Turner did a lot of negative to hurt Jonah Williams, and he had to unlearn everything he learned under Jim Turner. Then he's with Frank Pollock, and then he is in the Bengals system. And Frank Pollock was his first consistent offensive line coach he had here in Cincinnati. And sure, he was starting to make strides, fell back a little bit this year with the injury and things of that nature, but I still think there's a lot of value the Bengals could get from Jonah Williams. Remember, he has that quote unquote first round pick tag to him, right?
Yeah.
So there's
that
a lot
pedigree, baby.
And pedigree, right? Because the fact of the matter is Jonah Williams was still a starting left tackle on a Super Bowl team. On a Super Bowl team. Is Jonah Williams better than a Mike McGlinchey? Is he? Are they on the same par? These are real questions we got to ask, right?
He just got paid.
So then he just got paid a lot of money, right? So you
Malik, quick question from the Platypus. He has a good question. He says, my only question is, how many teams see him as a tackle? I feel like most people see him as a guard, so his market might not be huge. Where do you think, the NFL sees him? Tackle, guard?
I think the teams that are interested, because it's not about what the NFL thinks, it's about what the teams, with the teams that are interested to see him as. The teams that are inquiring about him see him as a left tackle, and they know that he wants to play left tackle. They're not gonna trade for him to play left tackle and then move him to guard, or trade him to play left tackle and play right tackle. He's going to get a fair and honest shake to play left tackle in the National Football League. It's just a matter of, will he stick there? Well, at that point, that's not on the Bengals. That's not on the Bengals. That's not their problem at that point, right? Right now, the guy wants to play left tackle. And I see Aaron Petrie, he says in the comment section, like, he was bad last year, though. He was, Aaron, but he also dealt with an injury. He dislocated his kneecap first game in Baltimore.
Right.
And he played all season.
What, week 4 or 5?
Yeah. So like there's a lot of things that go into that. Somebody says if he fills a physical with an NFL team, his value evaporates. Well, that's not exactly true because teams know about the injury going in.
Yeah.
When a team goes into quote unquote trade for a player, they ask and they inquire about injuries and things of that nature. And it's at that point where they say, okay, he has a quote unquote dislocated kneecap that was surgically repaired on. He's expected to make a full recovery, the whole 9 yards, blah, 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 blah. It's after the fact when they bring him into the building and they go through physical and they find something different that the team did not talk about. That's when trade falls through. But if they know about an injury or a pre-existing injury going in, a trade could still go through. Every team doctor is different. The Bengals failed Ryan Kerrigan here Bengals team physicians failed Ryan Kerrigan here on a visit, right? They also failed Shaq Barrett here when the Bengals offered him a 3-year contract. He goes to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers say, we see nothing wrong with you, or better yet, we're okay with that. He goes on to have an 18-sack season or whatever the case may be. You bite that bullet. So every organization is different as well. So
I think with Jonah too, I mean, obviously he had the injuries, but I think that's something a lot of people don't really necessarily consider either. It's not easy to play next to a rookie either. Teams are going to go after that side of the offensive line way more than they are on the other side. When you have Kappa, when you have Ted in the middle, there's clearly a weaker side of the line, whether that was Jonah's fault or not. Having a rookie next to you when you're already, about average, you're already banged up. there's clearly a side that teams are going to attack and, make you think, just make you play your best football week in and week out. That's just a card he was dealt. It's just what happened. But I think that also kind of is another little thing people aren't really talking about.
Yeah. So I think the whole Jonah Williams thing is going to unfold here soon. We'll figure out what's what. But we want to keep the conversation going. But before we do, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on post notifications. Remember, the State of the Jungle goes live each and every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we have shows most of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Those are our show times. So make sure you guys subscribe, give this video a like. We're up. We have 240 plus people in the group chat in the chat right now. Let's get this video up to 200 likes if we possibly can, guys. And we appreciate your support. We're going to also get to your questions, so make sure you guys jot your questions down in the comment section. JJ, I see you, my man. I appreciate you, my man. I see you in the comment section. You're asking about Lions record prediction. We're going to get there. My man Damien, my guy DP from the Draft Network. Make sure you guys give him a follow, man. Appreciate you, brother, for tuning in. But let's talk about the hot topic of discussion on Bengals Twitter. And I've got to sit up for this one. Hold on, actually. I'm gonna get myself a water. Man. Yeah, I gotta get myself a water for this one, because this one is gonna be something. Yeah, you might want to flip the camera to them. But let's talk about Joe Mixon. Let's talk about his future. Let's talk about Bengals Twitter at each other's throats about Joe Mixon. We're talking about being a loyal fan to being a not loyal fan to holding the team accountable to, oh, you're just a homer, yada, yada, yada. All this stuff. It's crazy right now. It's like, it's crazy on Bengals Twitter right now. But it's time to talk about Joe Mixon. With that being said, Logan, me and Evan have set up here and we've talked a lot the last few weeks. We've talked about Joe Mixon. We've talked about Jonah Williams. We talked so much about what the Bengals should do, but we all know it's what the Bengals should do, and it's also what the Bengals will do. Yeah. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what we're all waiting for, to see what happens there. We kind of assume there's going to be a move that will happen, and then it'll make things more clear. But in general, the thing I have always said, at this point, Joe Mixon is just, he's not worth the contract he currently has. I'm not going to say he's bad. I'm not going to say he's great. But like a lot of Bengals Twitter is right now, he's either top 5, top 7 back, or he's bottom of the barrel, And again, like Evan said, in reality, they're probably somewhere in the middle. But the thing that, like I said, the point that I'm going to always keep making is, at the end of the day, he did not play like the contract he has. And when that's the situation, I know the Bengals don't typically restructure and do all of these things, but that's the common sense move, to where at the end of the day, your play should match your pay. And I think everybody is clearly well aware the fact that that is not the case with Joe Mixon. I mean, he had one stellar game all year, obviously in Carolina. Obviously, he caught the ball a lot more this year, but just the production is not as good as anybody would like it to be. Whether that was his fault, the offensive line's fault, we had to figure out our run identity, the run scheme a lot early in the year, and then he kind of got going, and then he got hurt. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The facts are, Joe Mixon was not a very good running back last year. He had a couple good games, but all in all, on average, Joe Mixon was not as good as the Bengals needed him to be. We saw him come off the field constantly on third downs in the biggest parts of the game. And if I'm paying a running back or any player the upper echelon at their position group, I want them to be on the field in the biggest stages of the game. And it's just, Joe Mixon wasn't there. And it's just, I think, like I said, I think we can all agree at this point, he is not worth the contract that he currently has. How that is resolved, I can't tell you. If it was up to me, obviously I'd probably look to cut him or restructure him at the very least. But he simply cannot be on the team making as much money as he is currently next year.
Evan.
All right. Everyone buckle up. You know how this is going to go.
And before Evan goes, do us a favor. Again, this is the only truly interactive Bengals show out there. Drop in the comment section. We want to hear from you guys. Drop in the comment section and tell us what you guys think the Bengals should do. That's our way of trying to get you guys to join in the conversation. Tell us what you guys think we should do. I have some people already saying they think that the Bengals should trade Joe Mixon for Derrick Henry.
Austin Eckler can't get traded right now. And he's making $6 million, not 12,
20
6.
touchdowns.
Okay. I want to say this first, because apparently this has to be said. There are different kinds of fans, right? There are people who are the undying optimists. There are people who follow along with this sport and study every little bit of it because they want to know it and they want to experience it. And they have their right to have their opinions on how things should go. Then there's, of course, people who are asked to give their analysis on what's going on. So just because you disagree with someone's analysis, just to go after them and say, you're a fake fan or you suck or you're the worst or whatever else you want to say, it's ridiculous, guys. Let's cut that out on all sides. Okay. Anyways, on to the spiel. Would you pay $100 for a Big Mac from McDonald's? No. And it's not that you don't like McDonald's. It's not that you don't like food. All right. You ain't got a problem with any of that. It's the value that you're paying for what you're getting. Would you pay $500,000 for a $250,000 house? No. Same thing. You like living places. You're not trying to turn into you're not an anti-housing person. You don't hate housing and want to live under the stars and camp every night. You just understand that you don't want to overvalue something and pay for that. Which brings me to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is top 6 in cap hit. We know this. This has been hammered, right? Why don't we talk a little bit about where Joe Mixon ranks among, let's say, 32 running backs, right? 32 teams in the NFL, 32 running backs, right? That's a nice, neat number. Before we get into anything that people might hate for traditional metrics, whether that's PFF grade, missed tackles forced, whatever. Okay, let's start with the standard yards per attempt. How did he do out of 32 running backs? 3.9 yards per attempt, 28th out of 32. Yards after contact per attempt. Okay. Joe Mixon's not a great guy at forcing missed tackles. Okay, fine. But he plays hard and he fights through contact. Does he? 2.61 yard after contact. 30th out of 32 running backs. Okay, well, maybe he's breaking some tackles. I don't know. Let's take a look. 31st out of 32 running backs in elusive rating, which measures your missed tackles forced per attempt. It's an efficiency metric, guys. 24th in pass blocking grade with a 34.9. 25th in breakaway percentage. That's percentage of runs of 15 or more yards. This man is 12th in attempts among running backs, but is 29th in missed tackles forced in the running game. And we're using total because we know if you use total passing yards, if you use total rushing yards, the people with more attempts are generally going to be higher on the list, right? So Mixon should catch a break being a starting running back with, let me check, 249 rushing attempts, 29th in missed tackles forced. And he had 26. I want you to remember that number because let's take a look at the running backs who had more than 26 missed tackles forced in fewer games. Khalil Herbert in 13 games for the Bears. Zonovan Knight, the third string Jets running back, in 7 games had more missed tackles forced than Joe Mixon all season. Let that sink in. Let that sink in what you are getting as a return for the 6th highest cap hit among running backs. Brian Robinson, 12 games, more than him. Dameon Pierce, 13 games, more than double him. This is what we're talking about when we say running back production, right? What are you doing outside is what is blocked for you? Because there are a lot of talented athletes coming out of college and that exist in the NFL that can find an open hole and run for what's blocked. It's about what you're getting through contact, what you're creating by forcing missed tackles. And we have just seen evidence Mixon does not do this. He is bottom quarter in all of these metrics while being paid as the 6th highest running back. And that's the problem, guys. It's not that we hate Mixon. It's not we don't want him to succeed. It's not something silly like, oh, we want him to be cut. And if he's on the team when the season starts, we're going to boo him every care. I saw people asking like, oh, do you think he's going to cut him or are you going to cheer for him in the season? Like, of course you're going to cheer. Everyone loves the Bengals. We want the Bengals to be better. That's why we're passionate about this. That's why we're saying this stuff. And I feel like giving more attempts to Mixon is taking more away from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And guys, if Mixon was performing like even a top 20, top 15 back, okay. Bottom 25% in all those. And if we want to talk about Oh, you just want to save $12 million. What about Jonah? Stop. That's some kindergartner energy, all right? You just got in trouble with the teacher for doing something and going, well, Tommy over that. No one cares. No one cares what Tommy's doing, all right? We're talking about you and what you're doing. And right now, it's not there. Joe Mixon's production is not there. And if we want to talk about total yards, if that's such a great indicator of how good running backs are and why Mixon deserves to be paid and still get his chance, then why is Aaron Jones, who had 1,500 total yards, taking a pay cut?
Massive.
Why is Austin Eckler, who had 1,600 total yards, can't find a team who will trade for him, or even his own team won't give him an extension when he has been significantly more productive than Mixon at $6.5 million, not 12, not 10, 6, and he still can't find a team. So this is the problem. When you have these running backs who've been way more productive for way less money, who can't find a job or find an extension. This is the NFL fighting back against running back value. And you see it with the franchise tag. The only franchise tag that is lower than running back is place kicker. That is it. It is the least valuable position in the NFL. And they are showing you in free agency right now. They show you with the franchise tag. Vegas shows you when the spreads don't move, when a running back is taken out. Everyone agrees on the value of running backs at this point, and it's important to pay for what you are actually getting. And right now, you are paying $500,000 for a $250,000 house. And I'm sorry if you're mad about this. I'm sorry. But here, we're telling you like it is. We're giving it to you, the facts, not feelings. And I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings. I like Joe Mixon. I want him to be successful. But for that price tag, I'm not on board. I'm done.
Real quick, very good job, Evan.
Wait a minute. Want to just before we talk about this, Foster Moreau, who the Bengals brought in for a visit, who the Saints were, they put through a medical. He just put a tweet out actually, and I think it's important to get shed some light on it. The tweet says from Foster Moreau, through somewhat of a miraculous process, this free agency period has been life-changing for me. During a routine physical conducted by the Saints medical team down in New Orleans, I've come to learn that I have Hodgkin's lymphoma and will be stepping away from football.
Wow.
He
Hope
goes
the
on to
best
say,
for him, man.
at this time to fight a new opponent, cancer, I'm grateful for the support and thankful for the people who have stood firm with me. There hasn't been a single step I've taken without hundreds of people lighting the path before me, and I will continue to seek their guidance. That being said, I'll go kick this thing's ass and get back to doing what I love. Wow.
Man.
So prayers up to Foster Moreau.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the State of the Jungle crew, First Star family, we want to definitely give our thoughts and prayers to Foster Moreau and wish him, a speedy recovery. No doubt, that guy's going to bounce back in a big way.
Right.
That sucks to hear.
Man,
that's
brutal. Best of luck to him.
I think he went on the visit.
Yeah,
everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason, man. And he probably found that out. It's a great thing that he found that out. So now he can go focus on that and focus on getting healthy,
right?
Things of that nature. So, I know a lot of people have been asking for Foster Moreau updates, and last I had even heard about it, he was making a decision on where he wanted to go. I know a lot of people were kind of in the dark; they didn't know what was taking place the last couple of days, and now this shed some light on that. So, prayers up to Foster Moreau, his family,
right?
And wishing him a speedy recovery. But Daniel.
Yeah, man. I mean, life works in mysterious ways. I'm glad that, they found that out. That's freaking life-saving. Jeez, man. Well, all right. Going back real quick to the Joe Mixon thing, Evan, a quick question for you. Somebody said, Evan, you're being selective. Thanks for reading the data. Does it take into effect the 4 new starters on the offensive line that struggled mightily in the first 6 to 8 games?
So we're still up.
They, from week 5 on, this was a scheme change, right? And that's part of it too, is because Mixon does not fit this scheme well anymore. They changed to that man gap heavy in week 5, and that's where it started. And if you look at week 5 on, from week 5 to the end of the season, they were number 1 in rushing efficiency. And we just looked at the numbers, right? And so you say number 1 rushing efficiency. Joe Mixon's part of that, right? Everyone is part of that. And as we just looked at, well, is Joe Mixon creating yards outside of what's blocked, either by running over defenders and fighting through contact, or by making defenders miss on tackles? The answer is no. I mean, it's tangibly no. That's not in the, those are the numbers. Like that's That's not an opinion. That's not a PFF grade. That's those are the numbers of how many missed tackles he's forced, his yards per contact after attempt, and his best years. And when he made his Pro Bowl, when he led the AFC in rushing, he forced more missed tackles and he looked a little better after contact. And those lines weren't as good. Yeah. But I mean, this is the best line he's really had, guys. I know there were a lot of injuries at the end of the season that colored our perception of what happened. But again, from week 5 on, they were the number 1 rushing efficiency team in terms of EPA and in terms of pass block win rate. So not PFF grades, just pressures per snap allowed. They were a top, I think, 10 unit, top 12 unit. So they were the number 1 rushing efficiency team, and they were a top 15 at the very least pass blocking team. So this was the best line they've had in years. Everything, the offensive identity really hit the ground running. And I really, again, I wish I could sit here and say that, I mean, his rush yards over expectation are like 27th out of 48.
Yeah,
I mean, that's, if we're not talking about efficiency stats that reflect the team and we're looking at just the individual, like that's the best it gets, is middle of the pack. And that's the problem, is even if he is the 10th, 15th, 20th best running back, you're still paying him $12.5 million. You're paying him multiple starters worth of money.
Yeah.
You could get 2 starters at multiple positions. You could get a tight end for 6.5 or 7, and you could get one of those corners out there to shore it up, and that's paid for. And I know Jonah's worth 12, and we all want to, clear that off the books too. But when we're just talking about getting what you're paid for, right? That's really what it is for Mixon. And right now, and even in the last year or two, you just haven't been getting what you're paying for.
All right. So I appreciate both of you guys' feedback. I do. I'm going to go a little in depth here, a little bit more than I usually do. You guys know I've been being asked the last few weeks about Mixon, and I've been very vague and didn't want to speak to it because it seems to be a weird situation for a lot of reasons. Just to be transparent with you guys, when free agency first opened, I spoke to a league source, not a Bengals source of mine, but a league source of mine, who told me that they spoke to someone and it was undoubtedly said Mixon was being cut by the Cincinnati Bengals. And that was kind of shocking to me because typically I usually get that information, but I hadn't heard that. And they said, yeah, they spoke to somebody from the Bengals organization, and pretty much Joe Mixon was being cut was a foregone conclusion. Then the situation happened with the unfortunate situation with the kid being shot out on his property or something like that. And then everything went mum. Everything went silent. Didn't hear anything else about the Joe Mixon situation at all. Well, I spoke to 2 of my contacts from the Bengals organization that said, don't know where you heard that from. Mr. Brown likes to stick by people, and we cannot confirm that, Joe Mixon is a cut candidate and that he would be cut. So for me, I've been very mum on the situation and because it seems like, I'll put it this way. That source of mine has never led me astray, but my Bengal contacts have also never led me astray. It's very, very difficult for me it's a weird situation because you're being told one thing and you're being told something completely different as well. Right. So you don't want to ever be the person that put false things out there, especially because the guy follows me. And I thought, I didn't want to put it out there because, number one, I don't even know if a conversation was had, right? I don't even know what that looks like, but that's always why you should double check and triple check, because you have no idea. So I'll put it this way. Joe Mixon did an interview right before the playoffs where he talked about wanting to do whatever it takes to be a Cincinnati Bengal for life. You guys remember us talking about that on the show. Mm-hmm. He said he will do anything in his power to make sure that he's a Bengal for life. I have to think doing everything in his power to be a Bengal for life means taking a pay cut. Yeah. I also know this organization is unlike any other organization because the Bengals front load contracts and the guarantees aren't like other teams years and years down the road, right? There aren't a lot. there's a lot of like handshake deals, so to speak, and we'll take care of you. We won't cut you. We'll let you see the life of the contract. I didn't want to be that guy to put that type of information out there. And then when I spoke to two people verifiably from the Bengals organization, told me that that was not the case. The Bengals are a first-class organization. We've seen that time and time again. I can't see the Bengals this late in the game cutting Joe Mixon, to be quite honest with you guys. I can't see it. Just knowing how this team operates, man, they have never been the type of team that like screws players over. If they're going to cut you, they usually cut you
early
before the free agency period. I think Joe Mixon's a Bengal next year. I'm going against my league source. And hey, if you see this, brother, I don't mean any disrespect by it at all. But I'm going with what I know this organization has done in the past and what my Bengal contacts are telling me. I am I'm gonna believe that Joe Mixon's gonna be a Bengal next year. I am. I just don't know if it's gonna be at the same price tag, right, that he's currently set to make. This is not me putting out a report. This is me telling you, I've been told one thing, I've been told the other. I have to make a stance on it. And just going off of what the Bengals have shown, I believe Joe Mixon will be a Bengal next year. I do still think the Bengals are going to draft a running back. I do believe they're still going to draft a running back because they still need some juice from the running back position. But I think it was important that I gave the listeners, the viewers, that we appreciate you guys so much. I saw somebody said, are you going to finally comment on the Joe Mixon situation? Or are you going to just yap about nothing for an hour? That's what they said about me. I said, damn, okay. I didn't want to be the person to tell you what I hear, because I didn't want to be the person to put that out there. Right? It's been a lot of, I don't even know if the Bengals knew going into free agency what they were going to do, honestly. I think they were kind of torn and split on the situation. But the fact of the matter is, if you cut Joe Mixon right now, as if the Bengals are, and we know the Bengals organization is like a family. They really are. Mm-hmm. Well, what does that do for this guy's value? What does that do good for this guy's value?
I think that's tough because it's not just him. I mean, like we said, Eckler, Aaron Jones, these are guys who have been very successful in every aspect of the game.
But the Bengals are different, though.
Right.
They're different from other organizations. They genuinely do care about their people.
I just meant about players.
Yeah, you know, I know 100%.
Right.
And I know right now it's a conversation where, you know, it's easy to just jump on Mixon and say, you know what, cut Joe Mixon.
Right.
But you have to also remember, for the Bengals, there's a different aspect to it. It's a different element to it.
It's a human element that we talked about with Jonah, man. Like these guys are people. Like I can sit up here and say, analysis wise, it makes sense. That's why I constantly go out of the way to try and say that we're pro players.
I want to address something. Mark Manda, you said, LOL, this dude just say the Bengals are a first class organization. Yeah. The Bengals are a first-class organization. This is the same Bengals team that continuously paid AJ Green upwards to $20+ million for 3 years straight after him not even touching the football field.
With everything with Devin Still going on too.
When Devin Still found out his daughter was diagnosed with cancer, this is the team that stuck by him and paid him and did everything in their power to make sure that they supported. You know, so when you say that and you joke around and you think you're being funny, you're actually being a clown. You know, people say a lot of things about the Bengals organization, but there's one thing that for sure that I will say is that they have been a first-class organization through and through and through, and they've proven it. They've stuck by people long after they should have. That's sometimes still a fault, right? They've paid guys long after they're still good. So, you know, me doing the State of the Jungle show, whether I get good comments, bad comments, we address it all. We even address the inaccurate ones. So for me, I just think that it's unfortunate when people say, "Oh, the Bengals aren't a first class organization," because we can all attest and go off of what we've seen that they definitely are. So
one thing I just wanted to add on to that, because obviously we'd like the Bengals to be aggressive and get some of these veterans in positions like corner, tight end that maybe they need to fill some holes for. And whether that's Jonah clearing his $12 million or Mixon clearing his, whoever it is that clears that cap space, you can roll that over. If you don't want to use that this offseason to a season like where you might have to pay a Joe Burrow, a T. Higgins, and a Logan Wilson, all with higher year one cap hits, because you're spreading that out. So suddenly you've got that, and that can give you more room to attack needs next season too. So just an aspect that I wanted to make sure we were noting.
Well, it's now time for the fun part of the show where we start to answer your questions. This is the part of the show that I love so much. But if you haven't done so already, if you can do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on post notifications. We have something very, very exciting happening next week on the show.
Yes, sir.
We can't wait to share it with you guys. But without further ado, Daniel, take it away. Let's answer the people's questions.
All right. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them down below. We're going to start it off right away. Malik, change of topic. Could you see the wide receiver position as a sneaky need for the Bengals in this year's upcoming draft?
Need? No. But do you want to fill out the back room, get a different style of player? Yes.
What about you guys? What do you guys think?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Malik said, it's definitely not a need by any means, but they definitely need a different style of guy. They need some speed in offense in general. The Bengals have a ton of great players. They don't have a lot of top end speed. You know, whether that's they want to go get a guy that's a elite kick returner, punt returner, or just good with the ball in his hands. They just need some more juice, like we've always said. And you know, whether that's probably going to have to be in the draft at this point in time, but you know, there's plenty of guys and it doesn't have to be an early pick. It makes sense.
I think we've kind of heard a little bit about how the wide receiver landscape is kind of settling, and it's going to be the main couple guys up in the first and early second round. And then there's going to be kind of that gap between the second round and kind of the third and fourth, where I think you'll see a lot of guys start to go off the board at the third and fourth round. And at that turn, and when all the comp picks hit for all the teams, there's a lot of guys there that you can get that are slot receivers that have speed, that have that shiftiness and that quickness that you want to add. So maybe if the board falls right, if they really like somebody, if they've nailed, say, tackle and corner and tight end at that point, or running back, or any of those four positions, then maybe they feel comfortable about a guy and say, hey, this guy can really help us, and we can get him in the building now to work while Tyler Boyd finishes out the last year or so of his contract.
All right, a couple quick ones for Malik. We got a funny. Somebody said, Malik, are the Bengals interested in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
Bengals were never. I can confirm. I can report.
They're not going to trade for him.
They were never interested in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Didn't even pick up the phone to call him. I don't know where those reports came out from, but it never happened. I think they came from
MLF rumors, baby. You're telling me MLF rumors lied to me? Come on, man. They're a Twitter account who just tweet shit.
But there are reasons why, and there's the league. The league they have thoughts on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think they've kind of showed you how they view the guy.
There was the interview just today. Gosh, I can't remember. Underhill, I think was his name. I can't remember. He was just reporting that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was getting into problems with the coaching staff, was throwing fits where they were saying, oh, he's got cramps. And then suddenly he spent the whole day in the cool trailer where he was just hanging out. Like,
I think people have to understand, like, there's more to just signing a guy than what you see in Madden, his rating being an 85 overall, or a guy being a part of, being
that character matters, especially to the Bengals who constantly target
culture
team
matters.
Captains.
You don't want a guy that just, we'll leave it at that.
Malik, a couple quick ones for you. What's your favorite game day food? Someone who's wondering.
Give me some wings. Some wings, man.
This man kills wings at every meal.
I love wings, man.
Some people get a side of salad. This man gets a side of wings everywhere he goes.
I get salads. I get Caesar salad.
He gets a salad too. Don't get me wrong. He eats the salad, the wings, everything. That man is. Woo.
Our guy Tom Jones said, Malik, what do you think is the percentage that a right tackle falls to us at 28 versus moving up and securing it?
Guys, I'll be honest with you. I really think the Bengals draft a tight end at 28. I really
think
do.
They do. Okay.
I really think they draft a tight end at 28. I'll keep saying it.
I've been telling people.
I think they draft a tight end at 28 unless a star defensive lineman falls there.
Okay. Kincaid and Mayer go off the board.
Yeah.
Are they at that point pivoting to some other position?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like, they love Sam Laporta. Like, they're going to pull a Drew Sample and take, Tucker Kraft or Kuntz up in round 2. Then, I was like, okay. But
yeah, I mean, I just think that when you see the way things are
unfolding,
it's more and more. I've told you guys this since the week of the combine from things I heard. It seems like the Bengals are really set on
corner.
No.
I hate you. God,
on
lie to me. Lie to me, Malik.
Defensive lineman. I just think that they're expecting Cheeto Bay-Uzie to be back. They're expecting Cam Taylor-Britt to continue to take the next step forward and be cornerback too. They believe that Eli Apple is there for I'm being honest with you.
I
They
know,
think that
I
they could
know.
bring back
It is
Eli
I know.
Apple. They really believe they could bring back Eli Apple at any point. in
You
time.
know, I love my DBs.
Mike
man.
Hilton's still your cornerback. Like there's a lot that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. So like for me, it seems like tight end or defensive line. Now, for right tackles, let's say the tight ends are off the board,
Mhm.
and a right tackle, let's say Darnell Wright, who a lot of people have been saying is one of the best.
Are you on
offensive-
board with the DeJuan Jones pick? If that's if
That's,
he's
DeJuan
there?
Jones?
that's the guy I need to talk about. I think Darnell Wright will be long gone. I think he's one of the best offensive linemen in the
Go ahead,
draft.
Logan.
But
Yeah.
DeJuan Jones is the interesting one. I don't know how I feel about him personally. He's huge, not that's good and bad. I think that's where the conversation starts for me. Is it DeJuan Jones over one of these tight ends or over these, defensive linemen per se? I don't really know.
Like a DeJuan Jones or an
yeah,
Anton Harrison. That's
yeah.
more the range.
Yeah, I think Darnell Wright will be gone. His
I'm good off of
versatility is
DeJuan
good.
Jones. I'm sorry.
I think it's a little early for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate it. It's like
Now, if you get
Those-
another second round
but-
pick for Jonah Williams,
then
which
that's fine.
I'm going. If I have to make a prediction right now, I think the Bengals will get a second round.
Even a
pick.
third though. I like
I
that.
think they get a
That's your
second
tight
round.
end right there that
Yeah.
you want.
They
No,
need an,
but
they
that
need
could.
an extra
But do
spot.
you want to get the tight end who you view as tight end 1 on your board, or do you want to get?
Is tight end 1 gonna be there?
Who
Is
even
Michael Mayer
tight
going to be
end
there at
one?
28? I think he will be.
Okay.
I think he. Now listen, we're 100% speculating right now in terms of on who's going to be there at pick 28. We don't know.
No.
Teams
They
get
didn't tell
crazy.
you a month and a half out.
No, they definitely didn't tell me a month and a half out. But I will tell you right now, man, that tight end position is, we don't know who's going to be there at 28. But if we're going through the process of elimination, which is sort of what we're going to be doing next week on our show, if Michael Mayer is there, I mean, guys, like, come on now.
People are also asking, obviously they're looking to draft a tight end, or you think that they should, but what about free agency? Do you think that they should still go out and get a veteran tight end?
I think that they should,
They
but
have
I mean,
to.
are they? I mean, who's left?
What are you gonna do
Well,
now that OJ
Drew
Howard
Sample?
signed?
There's the only
Hooper
two-
signed.
The only couple guys that really sort of interest me. Obviously, Irv Smith Jr. is out there.
Yep.
He is what he is. He's battled some injuries, but he's flashed a little bit too. Another name that's really
Ooh.
cheap has flashed as well. Not nearly as big a name as Irv Smith Jr., but Dan Arnold. He's had a
Yeah.
few good
Mhm.
years in Jacksonville, Carolina, a little bit. There's some.
I mean,
guys
that's where
like
we're at
that.
right now.
Yeah.
Is Dan Arnold
But
and
at
Irv
the end
Smith.
of the day,
Roll Tide.
our tight end room is Devin Asiasi right now. Like,
Malik over here shaking his head at us, saying Irv Smith. What's
So-
wrong, man? You don't like Irv?
Huh?
You don't like Irv?
No comment.
He can come out and catch passes. He can be that guy.
He
We can have
drops a
someone
lot.
else
He
to
drops
block.
a good amount too.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Somebody said they thought this was going to be the war room. War room is going to be next week.
Whoa! We don't know that.
Or
We don't know that.
No.
We don't know that, do we?
I don't know. That's up to you.
Okay.
You're
I don't know
boss
that.
man.
Oh.
Somebody going back to the offensive line really quickly. Somebody said Jonah Williams. Do you guys think that he could hold out potentially if they don't get a trade done?
I mean, he could. I think that he'll just be traded at the end of the day. I think it makes sense for the Bengals. Makes sense for him. I mean,
I just got a funny text message
Mm.
from a good friend of mine. It says 23 million reasons why they pick a right tackle. Jonah
4.5.
Williams, 13 million trade. Lyle Collins, 10 million cut. I like that. I like that. I'm peeping you. I appreciate you watching the show.
Oh, what's your thoughts on Dalton Reisner? I know he's.
I
still,
love Dalton Reisner. I
He'd be a
do.
good depth ad, man. I
mean-
would like him to a Max. I'd like him better than Max
You,
Sharping.
you said he'd be a depth ad.
I mean, he could fight to start. I mean, I'm trying to give Cordell Volson like the benefit of the
bro,
doubt.
I don't know.
Just
I-
let him be competitive. I
but
mean,
that's the thing, bro. I think Cordell Volson was very solid his rookie year,
which
But
is all you can ask for.
Yeah, but like,
Right.
can you see him getting that much better? Not that he needs to be.
He
you
can
know,
become
that,
solid.
That
he can-
play is fine.
He could become solidly solid.
Yeah, but like when you're an older FCS fourth round pick, that like that's what you're drafted for. What
Right.
we drafted Cordell Volson for was to be our starting left guard in the short term. Like that's why you draft older players. That's why you draft older players from smaller schools because you know what you're going to get for them. I'm not saying we need to go out and replace the guy, but I also
It sounds like that's what you're saying.
well, no. I mean, if the opportunity is there, I wouldn't be opposed. But I'm just saying that I think last year is probably what Cordell Volson is. He's probably gonna maybe get a little better, but I don't think he's gonna, turn out to be some all-pro guard or just get that much better than he already is. But that he doesn't need to be. So it also doesn't really matter.
Right.
Just
Because if he winds up becoming that, then we'd probably
it's awesome.
he'd probably when it's time for him to be a free agent, he probably can command 18 million, 17 million a year.
Yeah,
So
At
we'll
that
see
point,
now.
it's because Bengals do not pay guards. So we better hope that he stays solid.
yeah,
I was
solidly
surprised
solid.
to see, gosh, who was the one who signed with the Steelers?
Siamalu.
I was surprised to
a
see
For
him
those of you who don't know,
sign
That was a
so
Isaac
well.
great-
Siamalu said if the Bengals made an offer to him, he told people on back channels he would sign with the Bengals. He really liked Joe Burrow. He really appreciated Joe Burrow. I was shocked to see that he signed for as low as he did. And I said, damn, Bengals, all you had to do is pick
Yeah.
up the damn phone call.
Right.
That's it. He's one of the best guards in football. But
Ah,
yeah, he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that
Good
guy, you know
Good
what's
move.
crazy? The Bears had a crazy offer on the table
$8
for him.
million a year.
The Bears had a
Yeah.
crazy offer
$8
on him.
million a
$8
year. He
million.
was projected as much as like 11 or 12.
it was Pittsburgh hit a home run there. Man. I mean,
Yeah, that was as much as it pains me to say. We
Yeah.
told you facts, not feelings. As much as it pains me to say,
Unreal.
good signing, Steelers. Good
Yeah.
signing.
We'll see if that helps out their run game with Najee Harris a little bit. Switching it over to the wide receiver position really quickly. Any thoughts on Tyler Boyd long term? Will we need to replace him, or is he a guy that's going to be able to be retained by the Bengals?
Logan.
Me?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I mean, it's gonna come down. Not that it's like similar to the Joe Mixon situation, but if Tyler Boyd wants to be here, he'll probably be here.
For the right price.
Yeah,
But
you know
that's
what I mean. Like, I don't think the Bengals aren't gonna pay him a lot of money. But again, if he really just wants to be here, then he'll be here. But like, I mean, I'm not gonna fault Tyler Boyd. I mean, as much as it sucks, I mean, he's from Pittsburgh. If he wants to go home, go home. If he wants to go, get paid, go get paid. If he wants to be a Cincinnati Bengal, he's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal. Like, whatever the situation happens with Tyler Boyd makes total sense. I think we all know he's not our number one or number two receiver. So at the end of the day, how much money are you throwing out a wide receiver 3?
Mhm.
How much money are you throwing out a slot guy? That answer is different for everybody. But truth is, he's going to be able to get more money. He's going to get better numbers outside of Cincinnati. Does that matter to him? I don't know.
Mhm.
But if it does, he'll probably leave. If he doesn't, he loves it here. He wants to chase rings. It's just awesome. Then he'll be here, man. But everybody has their different preferences. So
No, I think you made a good point there. It seemed like last season a lot. Like he kind of became not even the third option in this offense, right? Like it seemed like they were going to the running backs and the tight ends quite a bit.
Yeah.
And some games he was kind of an afterthought, and that sucks because we know the player Tyler Boyd has been, right, since he was the Raven killer after AJ Green, right? And but no, he's going to be 30 next year, guys, and it's the last year of his deal coming up. It's when you're trying to get younger, cheaper, more athletic, that is a clear spot that you can do it. And we talked about being able to get these slot receivers in round 2 and 3 and 4 and have quality, productive guys for cheap. And
if you're
I
drafting
think
a tight end early too.
I think that's the way to go, especially if you're intent on paying T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. There's the words.
I know our guy JJ was asking about the Detroit Lions at the beginning of the show. What's your guys' thoughts on a record prediction for the Lions? Where do you think that? How good do you think that they are this year?
Between 8 and 10 wins, I think.
Yeah, I mean that division's interesting. We'll have to see what plays out with the Packers and everything. But they're an ascending team. They've brought in a lot of solid guys, solidly solid guys, as Malik likes to say.
It's wide open.
They're just
man.
good. Yeah.
Like you said, wide open division
Yep.
with, Aaron Rodgers leaving, Jordan Love's a big question mark. What they have left there might be a big question mark.
Yep.
Obviously, the Bears are still trying to be a competitive team, and Detroit just keeps making good quality signings, and they just keep getting better. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. And I wish they probably could have worked something out with DJ Chark again, but that's all right, But I think the arrow's pointing up.
If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like. We're only at 90 right now. We have over 300 people in this chat. Let's
Please
give
and
this
thank
video,
you.
please and
Please.
please. Let's get to over 200 likes on this video. Just a like if you can, give this video a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's really, really key because we have something really, really exciting happening next week. We're going to keep running through some more questions because tonight, I got to go see Key Glock. I got to go see Key Glock at the Andrew Berry Center downtown, courtesy of First Star Logistics. I'll be hanging out in the First Star Logistics suite. And I can't wait to see him perform and things of that nature. So pretty excited about that. But we're going to keep running through some of these questions here before we head out. So let's keep it coming.
Our guy Braid said, can you guys go ahead and crush my dreams about Jahmyr Gibbs and Stripes?
Crushed.
Well, I can't imagine him taking him at the first pick, and he won't be there for the second.
Man, if he was, though.
Oh, man. That'd be fun. I think he forced more missed tackles on that one play against Vanderbilt than Joe Mixon did all year. So
He led Alabama.
sorry, guys, I'm playing. I just have to lean into it at this point.
Roll Tide.
nobody's talked about this yet, but paying Logan Wilson with the market a little bit low for linebackers. Are there any talks right now about paying Logan?
Good time to
Wilson?
extend, Malik.
I haven't
you-
heard anything about that.
Okay.
Just
He's
yet.
smart.
Besides tight end, are the Bengals done in free agency for the rest of this year?
I think you'll see. I think you'll see like a couple of lower moves, some depth from the defensive line, things of that nature, but nothing. Okay, I'm not going to say nothing. We'll see. We don't. You don't know. You never know what may come across your board. You don't never know. You never know what a player might be willing to sign for.
I was looking at some free agents and everything that I was just curious on. I'm gonna throw this out there. I don't think this player is gonna be too great, but he's an old friend of ours. I could kind of see Giovanni Bernard coming back.
Oh,
With how the
Really?
running back room's shaping up. You don't really have anybody behind Mixon right now. It kind of makes a little sense. He could probably
That'd
be
be
here for
four
nothing.
running backs.
You know what I mean?
And you'd be paying your running backs like 16, 17 million total.
He's gonna be dirt
probably.
cheap. You know,
I would love Giovanni.
it
Bernard.
kind of seems like something they would do around
Gio.
this time. You know, like he tried to get his ring with Tampa Bay, didn't work.
He's a free agent?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Gio coming back.
I like a couple of the veteran guys,
Yeah,
man. Like if
they're
we're talking,
super
especially
valuable.
on the edge, on the
Some good value.
on the D line, you're talking about Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, Matt Ioannidis. These are all guys who have been consistently productive and still are in their advanced age that could give Trey Hendrickson, 150 less snaps and keep him fresher, or take Sam Hubbard off a little bit on passing downs and get a little more juice.
Oh, please.
Great
Please-
run
please do
blocker,
that.
stand up guy.
Who was that?
Sam Hubbard?
No, you said.
Or,
I thought you were saying
sorry. Run defender. Sorry, not run blocker. Good run defender. Okay, pass rusher. Stand up dude.
Yep.
We like Sam Hubbard. We love Sam Hubbard, Mr. Cincinnati himself.
Of course.
But at the same time, I think we all could agree they could use a little more juice on that defensive line.
Oh yeah.
okay. Tom Jones said Cody Ford is horrible. He cannot be nowhere near this line, even the practice squad. What's your guys' thoughts on Cody Ford?
He signed up for $1 million.
He's cheap and he's supposed to be depth. He's not
Like-
supposed to be the starter.
Can we
like,
just talk about
period.
how great it must be to be a football player? We just said we signed him for $1 million so casually.
Yeah.
Man. I would love to be
I'll be
bad at my job or average at my job and get paid $1 million. That would be
Yeah.
nice. $1 million.
Never give up on your dream, Malik.
Let's go.
Our guy cruising through the woods said,
Cruising through the woods. In my
through the week. My bad. He said, can a rookie tight end make more of an impact than Hayden Hurst?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think that would be too hard.
No.
Question from Landon. He said, sup, Malik. Any idea who the several possible suitors are involved in the Jonah Williams trade conversations, according to Ian Rappaport?
No.
All right. Question for Logan. It was somewhere up here. They were asking Logan, what was your thoughts on the running back situation? What would you do in the draft if you were drafting a running back?
I mean, there's a lot you can do. I mean, I know the Bengals met with a good amount of them. I mean, for me, I'm never going to draft one crazy early just because of, like Evan always kind of says, there's that, that sweet spot in the third and on that you can get people that really fill roles, and like we talked about, Joe Mixon might not be gone. And if Joe Mixon's not gone, you don't need a bell cow. You just need a guy that can give you something that Joe Mixon can't. Well, you go get some speed, or maybe you go get a bruiser and let Joe Mixon just be a receiving, whatever it is. At this point, if Joe Mixon's going to continue to be on the roster, you just need to get somebody who complements him well in whatever way they see that. And there's a number of different ways you can go. There's a number of names you can throw out there. But at the end of the day, we kind of talked about it. The running back room outside of Joe Mixon is very thin. So any talent in there would be sweet to me. I just don't think it'll be very early.
Do you still think that Bryce Young is still going to be the number one overall pick after all the love the Panthers showed CJ Stroud today? I'm sure you saw that.
They show they show
yeah.
love. I mean, this is what happens on visits.
They
This is
grabbed
what
his
happens.
shoulder, Malik.
Yeah.
So, good question.
Yes, I still think Bryce Young is going to be the first overall pick. But I mean, this is what happens, right? When
It's
you
the
go,
show.
It's the show, right?
Yeah. And even in that tweet, they were interviewing every single quarterback, but they just said CJ Stroud's name.
I mean, there are people out there with narratives too. Just put it out there.
Yep.
There's people out there with narratives too.
How do you guys think that the Bengals draft picks are used? It seems like, or they said it seems like more offensive picks with a few defensive picks sprinkled in.
At some point, I'm waiting for this for this to become a defensive one of these
Mhm.
drafts to be a defensive draft.
Mhm.
Lou deserves a defensive draft. To be
And they
quite
have to
honest
get
with you.
cheaper and younger.
Yeah,
they're
he
getting
deserves
faster,
one.
so we're getting there. We're getting there.
Somebody was talking about Spears from Tulane. What was you guys' thoughts? Tajay Spears from Tulane. What's your thoughts on him?
He's good. I like him.
He is good.
Not my first overall. I like Zach Charbonnet personally. But,
Yeah. I mean, Spears is smaller, faster guy, good compliment. I think he's probably a little overhyped in this draft process because he's one of those guys that's just really fun on tape.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, being really fun on tape doesn't always translate to being good in the NFL as much as everybody wants it to. He's a little smaller. He's fun. He's going to be a good compliment back in the NFL for sure.
You like him in like the 4th round?
Yeah.
4th round?
I think that's a sweet spot for any running back.
It is, man. You get guys like we talked about, Dameon Pierce for the Texans. You
Yeah.
get Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, there's good backs to be had in the 4th round.
Okay, Greg Luther is asking, do you guys think there's a better chance that Jonah gets traded for a draft pick or a different player?
I think a draft pick.
Yeah.
I think compensation.
I think that gives the Bengals the freedom to use that however they want.
I saw somebody out there talking
Do you
about.
want a gift card or cash for Christmas? That's what you're
Depends
asking
the
me.
team.
I saw somebody talking about Mekhi Becton. People were talking about Mekhi Becton.
I
I'm
don't know
like,
why that's been out
that guy's
there.
played one game in like 2
Yeah.
years, right? There's been like.
I don't know. I mean, you could obviously throw him to some other teams, and a team like Washington comes to mind. They kind of need a left tackle. Maybe you go get a third and Logan Thomas or something. You can do some stuff like that. Maybe it's not like the best player in the world, but again,
Don't get me excited. I like Logan Thomas.
Me too. Former QB. Just you can do something like that. I like Washington as that kind of team. If you're gonna go get another player, and you got Antonio Gibson as well. You got some other little guys in there. But I think
Little guys.
it's probably just gonna be
Some little guys.
Some other little guys.
It's
in
probably
there.
just gonna be
Some of those 220-pound little guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of little guys, someone's asking, what did you guys' thoughts on Deuce Vaughn, the running back?
Fun.
Talk about fun.
Yeah, no, that man could literally squat and hide behind the offensive line as they're running around, dude. That would be awesome.
Man.
I mean, that's like literal the most like we talk about outliers. If you got the little bell curve and like 50% has most of the curve, and then you've got the out like Deuce Vaughn is all the way over there, like absolute time. What is he? 5'5"?
He's literally 5'5". You can go in a high school and he would not stand out. He would literally just look like anybody else there.
I'm like 5'7", and if I look down on
Put him on your
like,
football team, Logan.
That's wild.
He'd be a beast. We got people taller than him. So it's like, he's fun. Though,
No, he's a lot of fun and he's quality, man. He's got good contact balance for being as low.
He's
as
good.
as he
He's
is.
good.
Yeah.
He's just
Small little guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Trevor's asking about Yannick Ngakoue. What's you guys' thoughts on him?
I mean,
Yannick
Is he an
Ngakoue.
option?
I think he's one of those guys that if you move off Jonah sooner, those kind of guys become more in play.
Mhm.
Guys you can throw more money at, even if it's just a 1-year deal. In general, maybe not. But like I said, if you move off of Jonah and you have that luxury of going to add somebody, I think he'd probably be near the top of the list of the idea. Maybe not the player,
Do you think
but that idea.
Do you think he wants to like kind of accept that, not necessarily backup role, but like that kind of rotational role? I mean, PFF had him projected, I think, at like $9 million at bid at contract, and that's why I kind of just lean toward like the veterans, like a Justin Houston, like a Melvin Ingram, because those are guys who have been productive but are going to come at a third of the cost, and that seems more the Bengals speed.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like the Bengals speed, which is why I kind of said, with the Jonah, get more. You can take a little bit of
You got a little
luxury.
more to play with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He might, because he is going to be the pass rusher. At the end of the day, if he can play to his strengths, maybe. But I mean, again, he's bounced around. He's been on so many different teams already, and it's not because he's bad. It's just he can't stick anywhere. So maybe he doesn't even want a 1-year deal. Maybe he doesn't want this. But I mean, it's just I don't know. He's an interesting player.
Thoughts on the trade that happened today? The Browns acquiring Elijah Moore. What do you guys think about that?
Evan.
God, Jets, what are you doing? We talked about this. We said, don't gut what you've built for yourself. This beautiful sculpture you built for yourself organically to appease Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. Like, now there's talks that Odell Beckham and Aaron Rodgers are apparently besties and he wants to go play there. And if Odell's asking for 15 or 20, and even if he's getting 10, like, you guys got rid of Elijah Moore. You're stripping your team down. You're giving away picks, and you're just pushing everything in and accelerating this build
For what?
for 1 year at the cost of everything you've worked to build over the last 2 to 3 seasons. They've got DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner. They've got Quinnen Williams. They've got good guys in the trenches. They've got a good stall of running backs with both Breece Hall and Michael Carter back there. We know what Garrett Wilson is, and I loved Elijah Moore. And I thought, hey, okay, You're going to let him play a little bit of slot and a little bit of outside and Mixon and Alan Lazard. Okay, I can get on board with this, even though Alan Lazard was like 36th out of 40 something running or wide receivers in almost every important metric, yards per route. I'm not going to go there, but stripping your team down like this to get 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and you don't even have him yet. It makes me sick, man. I love these players and I hate it for them.
I mean, division rival Browns got better for sure. But again,
good trade for the Browns.
To the Brown side of things as well. I love Elijah Moore, just like Evan was saying. I also don't think the Browns are a good enough football team to not have a pick in the first 2 rounds. Like I know that's kind of obviously they're pushing all their chips in a little bit too, but they're just not there yet either. So I like the trade at the end of the day, but I mean this stuff's gonna come back to bite them a little bit. Obviously they gave what they gave to Deshaun Watson, whatever, but they're making some interesting moves as well. I love Elijah Moore as a player, but again, I don't know if that team's constructed well enough to not have any early picks over the next few years.
Really quickly, somebody saying, do you think that the Bengals reach out to Robert Gronkowski?
Malik, you're our insider.
I'm the messenger.
No,
Robert.
No, I think Robert Gronkowski is done.
He's probably having a really good time wherever he is.
FanDuel TV, whatever he does or whatever.
Brandon saying,
you saw that video of Gronk saying, I remember one time the Patriots said they're going to trade me to the Lions. He was like, no, I'm not. I'm retired. I was talking about thinking Gronk. I think about that.
What a story.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Our guy Brandon said, I don't know if you guys talked about this yet, but what is the state of the cornerback room for the Bengals? Free agent out there that makes sense or early round cornerback?
I see what he did there. State.
Yeah, state of the cornerback room.
I was picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. I mean, you got some guys there that no-lose system that are still out there that I really feel like the Bengals think Eli Apple, they could sign him at any point in time. Trey Flowers, they could sign him at any point in time. You still got some serviceable names out there.
Oh, yeah.
That could definitely help out the cornerback room.
You've got Rocky Sin, you've got Marcus Peters. Those guys are out there. You got Shaq Griffin, who we talked about before. This year, it's not quite as dire.
You put some names out there.
That's a couple that I'm just saying, like, dude, there are still some guys who are 25, 26, 27 out there that they can be your fourth corner, and they are probably okay with it. They're not going to fight you on that. Like, they'll take the $4 or $5 million that you were paying Eli Apple and be happy with it and probably be better with it. Like,
it's not a major role either. But I was thinking about it earlier, but the whole Trey Flowers role is interesting as well because you don't really usually have corners come in and guard tight ends like that. So it'll be kind of
that hybrid role.
Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting if he does leave, who they kind of put in that role.
So we got a call out. Zim Huday's in the comments.
Zim, how we doing, baby?
I wonder what this is
about. He said, "Hey,
good
Evan."
to hear. How you doing?
He says, "Hey, Evan, I got some Joe Mixon numbers. Want to hear them sometime?" ?
Yeah, buddy. Anytime, bro. You got my number. Hit me up. I love hearing from you, man. Your FaceTimes are always a good time. Go ahead, get your stick, light up, give me a call, and then I'll have a couple beers and we'll talk some numbers.
I love that. We'll see if he responds right now. Our guy Tom said, how far do you guys think that Jalen Carter falls at 10 pounds overweight at pro day? Didn't finish reps off the field incident.
I think he goes top 10, top 15, top 12. Something
Some
like
team will take a chance on
He's
him.
not going to fall past 15.
I mean, I think he's going to go just as. I mean, he's obviously not going to go just as early because he could have, been the number 1 pick before the trade. I don't think he's going to fall as far. I mean, obviously the legal concerns are different. I'm not looking into the pro day stuff. I mean, again, the guy almost just lost his whole career. Yes, his fault, but still, like, you're going to be a little out of it. You're going to do all these things. I'm not too worried about the pro day. I don't think he's going to fall because of that. I think if he's fallen, it's because of these legal reasons, which is rightfully so. That's fair. But until we know more about that, you can't really answer it. I doubt he falls past the Lions at 6, to be honest.
Our guy Ty said, are the Bengals good with Tyson Anderson for a third or fourth safety? The safety room seems kind of thin.
I think the Bengals are very, very high on Tyson Anderson. That's a guy that they're hoping develops, but he did spend last year hurt and things of that nature. They don't want to just give him the starting job and things of that nature. It's a role he's got to grow into. You don't want to just hand somebody a starter position. Let me just say this too, guys. Before we continue, I want to just say thank you guys so much for tuning into the show every single Wednesday. We got 300 people in here. You guys are spending your Wednesday night with us, talking ball, talking Cincinnati Bengals ball, and we appreciate the hell out of you. So much content you guys could choose from, and you guys decide to spend Wednesday nights with us at 7 p.m. Eastern time with Evan and his beer, Logan and his logical takes that he makes, and then me, of course, being who I am. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for supporting us. And this is why we do the show. It's for you guys, but continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. A couple more. Our guy Chris Rucker said, would you guys rather have Kyle Pitts or Michael Mayer?
Kyle Pitts or Michael Mayer?
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
It's so hard because Kyle Pitts is like the extreme good of one thing, and Michael Mayer is just like pretty good at a lot of things.
Is this really a conversation?
Yeah, is this a real conversation?
Really?
Kyle Pitts, of course, but like
Yeah, no,
effortlessly.
No, it's do you want the jack of all trades or the master of, basically a wide receiver? Do you want the I'm blanking. Raiders tight end that just got traded.
Darren Waller.
Thank you, Darren Waller. Do you want the guy who's the souped up version of Darren Waller?
I'll tell you what I want, and I'll tell you what I want.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I want right now is I want us to get to 100 likes. Right? We're not even at 100 likes yet, guys. Please.
That's what he wants. If you want to be his lover, please like this video.
Oh my God. Let's you
gotta give, guys. Taking's too easy, but that's the way it is.
Oh my God, he's so corny. He is so corny.
Our main guy, the platypus, he said Shaq Griffin. What's you guys' thoughts? I think it'd be a great pickup.
I love him.
I would too.
I'd love him in Cincinnati.
I think
Lou is a cornerback whisperer, and he can fix any cornerback. He can restore their values. This guy Shaq Griffin is just sitting out there.
Dude's been in the above average corner like every season.
Oh my God, yeah.
Every
Before
season.
Jacksonville, I'm blanking.
Seattle.
Yeah,
Bad things happen in Seattle.
Yeah.
My guy Rishi is here from Seattle, Washington, and this is his last night here before he heads back to the great state of Washington. And I had to make sure I just poked a little fun at the Seattle Seahawks, who decide they think it's best interest to pay Geno Smith as their quarterback after one good season.
Geno was good.
He was good.
He's okay.
All right. Our guy D Harris said, name any 3 players in this year's draft that would be perfect fits for the Bengals. If you guys don't have perfect fits, just 3 players.
Jahmyr Gibbs,
God bless.
Michael Mayer.
If Jahmyr Gibbs could pass block, I would take him in. I can't say round.
I would take him regardless. That guy is crazy.
That would be the
great.
biggest stamp of approval I could give. Yeah, I don't know.
That guy's great, man.
Yeah,
that guy's great. I also want to shout out Daniel, man. Daniel was the first person to hype up Isaiah Pacheco last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, nah, that dude's like whatever. And then he wind up I really don't think the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl without Isaiah Pacheco. That guy is just different. He's a dog. I know I went off on a tangent there, but like props to you, man.
He's a stud.
I can't wait to hear what who Daniel's stud running back is.
I got a lot of hate for that take too.
Yeah, you did. I gave you hate.
Yeah, we got
the hate was coming from inside the house.
Right.
In-house hate.
Yeah.
That's why I never left the house.
What was your 3 that you like, man? For the
I like the one you guys named as well. I don't even want to try to pronounce his name, but the defensive lineman from USC, Tuliopo, whatever his name is, he's very good as well. He's very, very versatile, can play that edge, can kind of play that 3-tech role as well.
Mm-hmm.
He came in a lot lighter than people were expecting. I guess myself was expecting. So maybe, he fell down a little bit for me because I did like that versatility he provided. Will McDonald, another really fun, athletic edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
BJ Ojolari as well. I'm big on this edge class. You can get value outside of round 1. It's just good. It's a good class. Like I said, I've been saying it every time we talk about the draft. The draft lines up very well for what the Bengals need. So it's, there's so many rounds and players that fit at different times. It's going to be very hard for the Bengals to really mess up this draft, I think.
I love Clark Phillips.
Yeah, you do.
I love Clark
you
Phillips.
do.
That is my guy. You talk about a ball hawk. Now here's a guy like.
And I like the guy, Malik.
And I like the guy. Listen, this guy is a baller, man. He's a ball. Let me tell you right now, man. This guy. When the guys they do their like draft shows and they start get really deep.
He's a dog.
He's a guy, man. He's a guy that could transform your defense. That's literally. Isn't that what Gruden used to be doing?
Yeah.
Here's a guy. There's whatever. But yeah.
Couple rapid fire ones. Would you trade Jonah Williams for Mekhi Becton, a 3rd-round pick?
No.
This is actually
wait.
Becton and
who's giving the 3rd-round pick?
Well, Mekhi and a 3rd-round pick
and a 3rd.
Come on, man. Right? Yeah.
I mean, you take a shot on that at that point.
Yeah.
You might just get the 3rd from someone else. You're getting also
picking
a chance
up that 5th-year option though.
Yeah, no, you might not be touching that 5th-year option.
You back in Jonas. Jonah.
Our guy Daniel Jansen said, Malik, why are you so bearish on Darnell Washington, the tight end?
All right. See, you guys are
Yeah,
you
Malik.
guys are you
Why?
guys are you guys are you guys are asking me questions that we have a big announcement. I got a big announcement for next week's show, and you guys want my opinion now. And somebody said, "God, let him go get his lunch pill and get ready for work." Clark Phillips.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I
man?
like that. Let Clark Phillips go get his lunch pill. Get
He's
ready
no
for work.
Olympic sprinter, but by God, does that
Yeah.
man just punch
That-
the clock in
You want to talk about a ball?
right on time, in
Okay,
and out?
I'll answer that question. You want my honest opinion? You guys ever seen the movie Draft Day? And it was what was that quarterback's name? Bo Callahan.
Yep.
Bo Callahan. And everybody was like, Bo Callahan is the next big thing. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I think Darnell Washington is gonna be a bust. I do.
Do you think he's going to be a bust, or do you think he's going to be overdrafted?
I think for where he's going to be drafted at, I think he's going to be a bust.
Okay.
I do not think he's going to develop into the receiving tight end people think he's going to. I think people are falling in love with his blocking ability and his size, things of that nature. And for me, I don't know. For me, when I look at a guy like Darnell Washington, I don't see the upside everybody else is seeing. I see the potential people 6'7" or whatever the case may be, and things of that nature.
You see potential at tackle?
I think he's going to be a
that's
good
literally
block.
what
I think he's
I
going to be a good blocking tight end, but I think he's going to leave a lot to be desired in the receiving game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really do.
I mean,
And again, that story is going to tell itself later down the road. And I also fear for him in the NFL. I think that because of how tall he is and how big he is, I think you're going to see a lot of teams, unfortunately, targeting at his lower extremities and things.
they'll
of that
just
nature.
jump over him.
But you can't do that in all situations. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
I don't know, man. I just think the lack of I just think the lack of production at receiving
I
position
think
in college is a little too alarming for me personally.
with Darnell, I mean, I agree with everything for the most part. He definitely is risky. He does all these things. I mean, you can't really say this, but I just wish Brock Bowers wasn't a person at Georgia, because Brock Bowers is so unbelievably good that it just, Darnell Washington never really gets that time to shine. Maybe if he's at Florida or some other random SEC school that he wants to go to, maybe he has all these crazy production numbers. We don't see it. Obviously, that's where obviously I'm a big Darnell Washington guy for those of you who do not know. But again, his blocking ability is unreal. Obviously, he leaves some to be desired in the passing game. But at the end of the day, for me, when I'm evaluating people, it's always more so don't look at what they were doing, but look at what they can project to do. And I think Darnell Washington projects very well in a lot of ways. Maybe he doesn't reach those, but just being that tall, that big, that athletic, there's a lot to like there. Obviously, to Malik's point, he could suck. He might get slower. He might struggle with his weight. He might have one injury and just be done. But the upside is clearly there. Will he be overdrafted? He probably will be. But
I really think he might be the tight end. I think he's going to draft.
You
I
think
think he's going to
over Dalton Kincaid
Yes, I
and
think
Michael Mayer.
I think he will as well.
I think he won the
Wow.
underwear Olympics. People fell in love with him at the combine. They really did. The one big thing that he had going for him is his blocking ability.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with
And
you
it's
guys. He did.
amazing.
I mean,
It
you
just
might say
depends.
Darnell Washington for right tackle.
I'm going to pivot the
No.
other way. I'm going to go against you guys.
Sure.
I think he falls and is the third tight end taken off the board.
The tight ends are, bro, you can tell me the tight ends go any direction, any order. I'll be like,
Dalton
Yeah,
Kincaid,
cool.
Michael Mayer. I like Tucker Kraft. I like a lot of tight ends.
I think he's just the third one off the board. I don't think he goes one.
how many tight ends do we think go in the first round?
Two?
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
If you're
I
telling
think
me that the Bengals
might be-
looking at Michael Mayer
listen,
that
listen.
hard.
This might be, I'm not going to do that on the show.
I know.
I'm not going to do that show. But what I will say this might be very similar to that draft of 2019 where Cody Ford and Jawan Taylor fell to the second round. This might be very similar. And then we see a run on tight ends in the beginning of the second round. I could see that being the situation here.
That's it.
Our guy Brian Turner, he said, "Who's the best defensive line / edge possible at 28?"
Will McDonald, let's go.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
That's Malik's guy.
Shout out to Marissa.
You guys, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they just got quiet. They got scared as soon as I said it.
Well, I named
Oh,
some a little
got
bit earlier. I like,
scared.
I like the USC
Got
guy a lot.
scared.
I like BJ Ojulari a lot. I think he's got a lot more, he's got a lot more in his bag per se as a pass rusher than say Will McDonald. there's so many good edge rushers. The guy
It's tough
from
to know where they're going to
Northwestern.
go too. You
Yeah.
got so many different
So
flavors. I
many
mean, where's
scheme
Nolan Smith
fits
going to
and-
go?
yeah,
Like, I
Nolan
mean, I have
Smith's
no idea. I've seen him as
unbelievable.
high as 7 and as low as
Yeah.
23. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Van Ness is another one of those guys too.
Another
I have
one who can
no
sneak
clue
in.
where he's going
Right.
to go. You know, some people love him. I've seen him and pushing top 10 sometimes. You know,
The
there's
impossible to pronounce edge name from Northwestern.
that guy, Double A, is a beast. You know?
Double A, I
don't-
like that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I have to say.
There's a lot of, like I said, edge class is phenomenal. I don't know where the first to come up. Well,
Right.
after Anderson and the Tyree Wilson and those guys, I don't know after those first few big names.
Mhm.
I don't know the order. So you can tell me, like I said, with tight ends, there's so many good players in this draft. This is
They
one of
really
the,
are.
this is a really difficult draft to predict in a lot of ways. There's so many quality players.
Mhm.
The order I think is going to surprise a lot of people because they're all very
Somebody
close.
just said all these tight ends are baloney. If we don't draft Gibbs or Robinson with the first round, then that pick was a bust.
Cool.
If you say so.
Facts.
Was it? I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
But thank you for your contribution. We love you. Thank you for tuning in.
Ty said punter options for the Bengals.
Anybody.
Retweet.
Anybody. Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody not named Drew Chrisman.
He said it.
Brother, I'm telling you. Whoo, yeah, it leaves a lot to
haven't-
be
What was it?
desired.
Lowest hang time in the last
Bro.
like 13 years, like of any.
It could be a
punter.
nervousness
Like,
thing. I don't know. I'm trying to give the kid a benefit of a doubt, man. But whoa.
I mean, that
was rough.
sounds like something like that's a problem. Like
Marissa's
you don't
always
just
in the-
accidentally have the lowest hang time in the
Marissa-
last 13 years.
Marissa's always putting up dimes in the group chat. She said Jake Moody at punter.
I mean,
Like you said, you could sell me on anybody else. At least it's a fresh face.
Daniel
At least
Alameda.
It's an option.
Bring him in.
Daniel,
Nah,
you strapping the leg up? You doing the Mark Wahlberg invincible thing? You just
I'll try. I'll probably fly with the ball too, to be honest. Two more. The disc golf dad said Jonah Williams for pick 106 and Mo Alley Cox from the Colts. Right?
Nah, you don't go ahead, keep them picks.
I mean,
You don't
what
have
is
to
106? Is that a
that's
is that a-
4.
is that a
That'd be
four or
right
five?
after probably right after the comp picks.
Early
the
four,
fourth.
late four.
Yeah,
Man,
early
Mo Alley
4
Cox
plus a
is moving the
player.
needle for me.
I
March
think he's a
Madness
throw in.
legend.
I think he's a throw in. That's it. But I mean, if you feel that desperate for bodies at tight end, I mean, sure, he's a big guy.
Yeah,
He's
that's
had
about
some
the
receiving,
lowest
yeah.
offer. I'd be like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's-
sure.
That's like when you talk about a free agent, you're like, he started this many games, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to starts. That's the first thing you lead off with is he
Yeah.
played in the game. I mean,
phenomenal
sheesh.
blocker. You know,
I did. Oh, go ahead.
I would say if you're looking for more of a realistic comp for Darnell Washington, Mo Alley Cox.
Mm,
That's, I mean, take it.
doesn't
what you
that just
will.
make you feel warm inside?
I'm just saying, like that's his probably like
that's your first round
average
pick.
comp. You know what I mean? Like that's his worst case scenario comp to me. Is Mo Alley Cox.
I saw somebody
He's
in
been-
the comment section said earlier Zach Charbonnet or Laporta in the second round. Who would you take?
in the second. I go Laporta just because of how deep the running back class is, and I think you
You
can
say the
circle
same thing
back
about
around
tight
in
end.
3 or 4.
Say the same thing about tight end, but
But he gives you something as a
I'd-
receiver that
I'd
those
go
other guys don't
Laporta.
quite.
I'd go Laporta as well. It's tough because I know Malik likes Zach Charbonnet, and so do I. It's not that I don't like Zach Charbonnet. It's just I think you look at the way the team is right now. I mean, we don't have a tight end. You know, I'm sure that'll be different by the time we get there.
Oh yeah,
But
it's gonna be different after.
yeah,
Malik over here just
The
side eyeing
same
us with this
Laporta.
wry smile. Just
Listen, all I know, man, is this is gonna be a fun draft.
oh yeah,
process.
no, it's gonna be a good
oh,
time.
it is. Can't wait.
But guys, next week live
Uh-oh.
on State of the Jungle at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. Make sure you guys bring your draft analysis. You guys bring your chalkboard, your whiteboard, your folders, your favorite prospects, because next week, I almost said tomorrow, next week's
Wish.
live on State of the Jungle, we will be in a new location. Question is, what location? Next week live on State of the Jungle will be our first official war room where we'll be going through all 7 rounds of the NFL draft for the Bengals pick. Logan, Evan, myself, and we might invite a friend or two. Who knows? Maybe the John Sheerans of the world. You never know who might join us. but we are going to be debating through who the Bengals should pick at not only pick 28, but every pick up until the 7th round. Will there be trades? Will there be disagreements? Will there be mayhem? That remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, you guys need to make sure you guys tune in to State of the Jungle next week at 7 p.m. Eastern time for a special War Room edition as I guess this is our mock draft, right? This will be our mock draft, right? Where we officially break down all the picks. And I know I'm going to be standing tall for a couple of players. I know Evan's going to be standing tall for a couple of players. And I know Logan's going to be standing tall for Washington.
I cannot wait to lob that Darnell Washington grenade in between y'all.
Here's the craziest thing about it. We're going to run this like a legit draft, meaning 10 minutes on the clock, 10 minutes to make picks. And guys, what, guys? You guys have the ability to influence our picks as well. So the same way you guys comment in the comment section, you can comment in the comment section, post questions. You'll be able to see live who is available on the draft board after, the teams ahead of us pick and things of that nature. You guys can help us make these picks. So again, make sure you guys clear your schedules next Wednesday live, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Get ready for State of the Jungle special War Room edition as we break down the entire NFL Draft Bengals edition. But until then, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys give this video a like. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you guys don't miss when we go live. Turn on your post notifications as well. And we'll see you guys next week on State of the Jungle, live at 7 p.m. Presented to you by